The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Saturday, Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Kyrie Shelton this week got to kind of live the dream that all players have wanted to do at one point or another and make that post about the referees on social media. Did you just open it up the next day and just go, oh my God, Kyrie, you're going to get fined for that?
I did exactly that, yes. I didn't know he posted that until later. I would say it was too late when I noticed it. Kyrie is like that. He likes to, express his feelings to the world. And look, in a way, there's no problem with that. I think you can have an opinion. I hate when you get fined for things that, the referees admit to mistakes they make during games, but if you say that they make a mistake, you get fined for it.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. Our intro music just hits differently when our team is not playing well.
It is a multifunctional song, though.
It is.
Happy, sad, pissed.
It is. That's just what I mean. It hits a little differently when we're not playing well. So we got a decent show. We have a very good show tonight. A lot to talk about. We're going to talk about why this team cannot score.
Just tuned out. You're apparently showing more confidence than the team does.
That's right, yeah. We're going to talk about why this team can't score on set pieces. We're going to talk about if this team can make the playoffs without a signing. But the number one thing, there's nowhere else I could start this show, but the incident after the game, Johnny Russell was seen going over to the Fountain City Ultras portion of the Cauldron, exchanging some words. We don't know exactly what happened. It's been an ordeal. David has been monitoring the Cauldron Facebook page for us. He deserves a raise, or maybe just to get paid, period, for that. So how should we begin this discussion? Thad, you generally have a reasonable, level-headed...
You usually don't want me to have a reasonable, level-headed point, though.
I know, but this one is a touchier subject, so...
How close were you to it?
Never knew it happened until I was driving home.
Okay.
So I was on the far end. I was on the south stand, so I have no clue what actually happened, other than what the supporters group posted, what I've heard other people say, and knowing Johnny would not typically go off on we deserve better kind of chant. So I know I have sat in that area before while shooting, and I've heard some pretty vile things thrown at the other team and Sporting also. I just don't know what that may have been, and I do know somebody that was close to that situation who said that they said some things other than what they said in their post.
Yeah, no one...
So I don't really know, though.
I don't think anyone actually believes that they were just saying we deserve better, right? Johnny Russell's not running across a field for something like that.
I know they said there was something else, but it wasn't much worse, if any worse. But yeah, I just can't believe Johnny would be that pissed over something like that.
Well, and then my other part of this is, even if that is all they were saying, and no, Johnny probably shouldn't have come over there. If from the standpoint of the team, that's fine. But I have a microphone in front of me, and this is the court of Cody's opinion here. So yeah,
gives you the right, damn it.
Like, yeah, just kind of like the Ultras post said, like, they're not mad at Johnny for going over there. No, Johnny's a passionate guy. We know that about him. I have no problem with that as a fan of the team. But so let's just say they were saying we deserve better. I'm not sure, honestly, that we do deserve better. It has been 7 games. Like, what would some of this fan base do as a team of as a fan of other teams in this league? How would they even survive? The Colorado Rapids, like, they were bad for so many years, and we go through 7 games after losing our 2 star players, and our fans are chanting, we deserve better.
There was like a decade of terrible from Canadian teams.
That's what I just don't understand this.
I don't either, man. And I've been a fan. I'm old, okay. I've been a fan of teams that would go a decade without a winning season, and then they go a decade with 5 or 6 winning seasons and do well, and then you go another decade with losing seasons, and that's part of being fandom, right? Does that mean you have to be happy they're losing? No. So there's a fine line there that I'm like, I understand fans not being happy with how the team has performed this year, and there's carryover from bombing out of playoffs and a bad season in 2019 and some stuff like that. There's carryover, so they haven't won anything since 2017, but they've been in most years they've been a good and entertaining team, made the playoffs, which right. I know that's a low bar.
They haven't won a title since then, but they've won a lot of soccer games since then.
So there's that line, can you expect them to win something every year? No, I don't think so. Can you expect them to have every season be a winning season? No, I don't think so. Shit happens. I mean, injuries happen. It's 7
games is all we have played. And it has been a rough streak. Sure, it has. But it's just so entitled. That let's start chant that when they get eliminated from the playoffs, right? That's when a fan base can chant that and be all good. Oh, we have Daniel Sperry is joining us via Zoom. Daniel Sperry, there he is.
Hello.
Yeah,
welcome,
you weren't
sir.
paying attention, Cody, so you had to text me.
No, I was not paying attention. He was
Cody's
in the
got
Zoom.
a job to do, man.
He was in the Zoom waiting. Daniel Sperry of the KC Star. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Are you guys all in one location, or are we all called in here?
Yeah, we're all in my living room, except for you.
Fun.
You're just gonna be looking at me. I didn't want to prop the computer up to look at everyone because I needed to look up things on my own.
Your definition of living room is a little different.
Dining room. Thank you. Right. I don't know that you needed to correct me.
Do you eat in your living room? I mean, that's okay.
Cody has trouble with taste.
I do blur those lines quite a bit.
There's no couches in here.
All right, Daniel. So you're joining mid-conversation about the post-game incident. We've been venting about. I can
leave for a second.
Well, really, we're just on entitled fans at the moment. Is the way it's going.
Daniel, the segment is called "Give Us Your Hot Take About Fountain City Ultras." So you got to lead us off with the hottest take you've got.
That's dangerous.
He already said he wanted to leave when we spoke about this.
I'll leave most of my thoughts on the whole situation out off air. I'll just say this: it feels like one group was so extremely quick to respond in this, and one group absolutely has not responded at all in this party of 2. And so I think that should tell you all you need to know about this incident. I had a conversation with a friend of mine at work today. He grew up in Brazil, big Corinthians fan, and we were talking about fan culture in America versus the rest of the world. And the rest of the world has years and years and years and these levels of political, societal, criminal, mafia stuff that's like baked into certain fan cultures that we don't have here, and it's a good thing. And so I like passionate fans. I like fans that have an opinion, that want to state their mind. I will disagree with you, and I will respectfully disagree with you. But like, there's also like a certain level of things that are really sucky about the global fandom that people in the US think creates pressure for the players, right? So we'll get like better results out of them. And in reality, like, maybe you kind of light a fire under a guy, but you know, I know I just don't think that was what happened on Saturday night was the best way to go about lighting a fire under people. And maybe it works, who knows? But I'll leave the rest of my thoughts. Yeah, I'll just say there's one, like, it's very obvious. One group was very quickly looking for publicity here, and one group could not care less about the event and has said nothing. So that's my take on that.
We didn't mention this part, just the view of a group that has named themselves Ultras and then is writing something like, oh, I don't know why everyone wants to make us out to be the bad guys. Literally, like, you named yourselves Ultras, and there is a certain connotation, like Daniel was saying, around world football.
There's
with that
definitely an absolute wannabe connotation to that. Okay. I mean, if you want to be Ultras, then go be Ultras, but you'll get kicked out of the stadium and nobody will like you, and you'll get your ass kicked eventually. Okay?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. So if you want to be it, be it. Otherwise, don't call yourself that.
That's fair. I'm with you. I won't go much further than that.
And I now cannot sit in front of them for probably another year.
Yeah, Thad's in a dangerous spot right there. Back turned, everything. Okay, we can talk about some actual soccer, but it's going to be more complaining. I want to talk about set pieces. I had people sending me messages saying our defense is bad, but I'm not sure that I subscribe to that. It's set pieces. We definitely can't do set pieces. We've never been able to do set pieces as long as I've been a fan of this team. It feels like. So someone tell me.
How long have you been a fan of this team?
I'm a true 96er. So let's go back.
You are?
I don't know. I was at the first game. I don't know. I blacked out there for a couple of years, but.
Well, I thought it was ironic that, CJ was there. Colin got, kind of honored before the game. That was two of the guys on the, team 2013 team that really made us dominant in the box. And I just thought it was kind of ironic that they were there on this night. One for the other team.
Valid
and he
point.
scored.
Someone else has. I agree with Cody. I don't know that this team is like bad defensively. There are, but the types of things that happen on set pieces I feel like are frequently a thing over the last couple of years, and it's been part of something that I've kind of griped about, where like, sure, there's like some unlucky bounces. I wouldn't even say gripe because I'm not trying to come at it from a fan perspective, but like where I feel like things are going wrong is it feels like amid the general, you'll probably get like 3 or 4 really bad bounces a year. They're creating a lot of their own bad bounces by failure to clear a situation, and then at times failure to rally to the ball when it's not fully cleared. And they're not the first person to the ball when the ball drops inside their box on those things. Like if they're first to the ball and clear it, that's fine. But if they don't get that clearance off, they're not first to that second ball. And I think that kind of goes to what Peter was talking about at the end of the game, was what he was pissed off about was just like an effort, focus, mentality thing. And I think that's kind of where a lot of those things lie, because I was trying to look back on it, and sure, you could single out people who lost markers on the first goal. Why no one was really caring about the fact that the dude was wide open at the edge of the 18 for the initial pass off the restart when they passed it out to Leal for the cross in that first goal. So like there's a lot of those things that like you can moan about, but like at the end of the day, the second goal happened because it was a really like the ball dropped and nobody was quicker to it. Like nobody was anticipating where else that ball was going. And I feel like those types of mistakes lead to the types of goals that CJ has scored, the types of goals that they gave up. and they led the league in like the most unassisted goals given up last year. One of the worst teams in that category. And a lot of it, you go look at all of the individual plays, you can say, well, a lot of it's dumb luck, but a lot of times I feel like they're kind of creating it because the clearance isn't sloppy, or they're not first to the second ball. And when the ball drops there on a cross in or a set piece in, and they get these rebound ricochet things that like you continually say, okay, they're unlucky, but at some point it's a trend, and it's a trend that they're not getting there. And so then the question is, where is the effort on that? Because I think that's really what it boils down to. Like, it feels like they handle the initial situation well most of the times, but if there's a second subsequent thing that happens at the end of those set pieces, that's where they're getting killed.
Well, and Daniel, I think you bring up a good point. We've talked about this maybe, like a month ago on the pod about, is the defense bad or are we bad in moments? Like when we played Atlanta, it was a bad turnover in the midfield led to a big moment for Atlanta, but it's not like our defense was just getting shredded left and right. And so against Nashville, we fell asleep on a set piece. That was a bad moment. And then, CJ's goal was just kind of an unlucky failed clearance that just kind of pinged around, and more often than not, that ball's not going to be scored. That ball's going to bounce elsewhere. It's going to get cleared by somebody else. CJ's going to duff it. Something. It's just an unlucky moment. I'm not sure that our defense is truly atrocious, but we seem to be getting more bad breaks than good right now.
Thad Bell, what are you doing on your phone right now?
Answering questions.
From who? Who's asking you a question?
I can't tell you that. That would embarrass you.
I want you to read the note you were just passing out loud to the class. Read it out loud to the class.
Oh, jeez.
I will go here. I did not know who the other voice here that was not Robert or Thad or Cody. Okay. And so I was like trying to be like, who is this? Okay, there we go. Now we go. We're back.
Daniel, meet David.
Daniel.
Hi, David. Hello, David.
Hello.
I didn't do introductions.
My apologies.
I didn't do introductions.
Cody did a terrible job of like introducing everybody here. So
well, actually, if you'd have done introductions, he still would not have known it because he was late.
I thought you were just a huge fan of the show. I thought you knew everybody. I don't know. So, yes, we have the full house here. Cody Bradley, Thad Bell, Robert Russert, and David Greenwald. That is everybody that is here.
Nate Buchaty didn't ask who I was.
Nate did not ask. Nate just knew, I think.
Nor did he care.
Wow.
I'm kidding. He cared. Man. Nate's a great guy.
We like Nate. Nate gave us a shout-out on the Sporting KC show, so that was good.
Nate's great.
So how would we describe the way Kansas City defends in the box on set pieces? Is it zonal marking? Is it man? Is it free guy to the ball and everybody else is marking? What would you call it?
Intermittent.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I was definitely one of the like Sperry was saying of, oh, it's just bad luck and things like that. But no, it is an absolute trend, and it's just weird for me. Like I agree with what David is saying. Like the defense is not that bad. There's just some bad moments. But the more I say that, the more stupid it sounds. like they're still giving up these bad moments, and it's like if you just give up a bunch of bad moments, then you're just not doing very good. So there is a certain point there. But when I think about at least the center backs, I'm happy with the center backs. I think Issy probably had one of his worst games against Nashville, but I like our two center backs. I have been vocal about Ben Sweat. I'm ready for Ndenbe to come back. But, Zusi is still serviceable over there. I think everyone would prefer someone younger and quicker and, with a brighter future. But I think the back line is serviceable when I look at the defense. But then at the same time, like, there is an issue here. So, Sperry, someone figure this out for us. What's wrong?
I don't know. Because they're doing... So like their defense for the most part in the run of like that, we have to forget don't forget like Nashville's a really good team. Hani Mukhtar is really freaking good. Randall Leal was awesome, and Ben Sweat most likely is going to get beat for pace a lot of times, and he went up against two of the better 1v1 attackers in the Western Conference. There's a lot of guys who will kill you by like where they're at and their spatial marking, but like those are two of the best dribblers in the conference that'll take people one-on-one. And so Sweat definitely got burned. He's been second to a lot of stuff in the midfield too, which is, I think, anyways, I digress. I think the biggest part has been just an inconsistent role player at the 6 in front of those back two, of those two center backs. And I think that if you have someone that they're used to playing with and they keep going with, and that was like part of the risk with Elie, but like they also couldn't have foreseen that Uri Rosell was going to be healthy through most of training camp, was all of a sudden going to miss 5 out of the 7 games that they've played. So that's also something that's like thrown into the mix there that, even the knock that he picked up late last week, it was a game day decision for whether or not they were going to roll with him. And so then they have to make shift and play Roger at the 6. And, that's like Roger played one game at the 6 and it was a 1-1 draw against Colorado last year. And he looked fine at times, but Sporting had the ball for the majority of that. And this Nashville team is a lot more talented than I think that Colorado team was, and a little bit better at hanging onto the ball. So you have these teams like Nashville who went in, their expected goals very high. They kept the ball against Sporting for the most part, and had meaningful possession with it. And I think teams are kind of finding some joy because of how built this team is to play with the ball, and that they are maybe not as great and they're more kind of scrambly when they don't have the ball. And I think that's kind of maybe what's led to some of those things, and just overall inconsistencies in personnel. I go back to the goal that Sporting scored. If you have Ndembe in there, I don't know if he picks out that right pass. And that's just kind of an experience thing that Sweat has. The system that he played in New York was extremely similar to what Sporting tried to do. His best moments of his career were in New York. And so that was a very good play. But like, they've got to figure out other beyond the defense thing. They've got to figure out ways to like actually score some goals that aren't 16 pass beauties, because scoring some of these other goals that aren't reliant upon you having the ball for so long and breaking teams down that way will alleviate what you're trying to do defensively too, because the game state changes when you've got those goals and you're up. And I think that the attack in a way has, like, it's stalling has kind of hurt the defense in a way too, because then it's like in baseball, right? When you've got a pitcher who's working with a one run, 2-run, 3-run lead, like the tight lead, the things that the intensity, the pressure on the payoff plays and the payoff pitches ratchets up. In soccer, when you're trying to protect a 1-0 lead every single game, because this team hasn't scored more than 2 goals in a game this year, when you're trying to protect a lead or even protect a gap between you and the other team constantly, the pressure can kind of wear you out a little bit. And so all of those moments become much more magnified when you aren't sitting with that comfortability of where you're at in the game state as well.
He mentioned the assist from Sweat. And Robert, I wanted to ask you if maybe he had learned something from, you wrote an article about him missing some of those chances like that or not making passes like that. So I was wondering if maybe he read your article and figured something out.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
But was that play like kind of one of those examples you were saying maybe he wasn't doing the week before?
No, mine was more about, more in the middle area of the field when he's near the top of the box than it was that. Obviously a nice play there and a very heads-up play to play the ball that he did. But I think Sweat may just be more focused on that attack-minded. Somebody mentioned in the comments that he's like a left-sided Zuzi. Great, but Zuzi often gets defeated because he's out of position and with balls in behind him. Same thing is happening to Sweat. And I think he's maybe just trying to make Peter happy with him on the offense and maybe just a little more focused on that instead of the defense. I don't know. Just a thought.
I think when the team is at their best, they can have one or the other outside back up there. They still have to have the speed with Izzy or AD mid or the other back have that.
Well, who's the left center back with Sweat? Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the issues. The other issue was Roger being there. Not a slam on Roger because we still love Roger, but he's not as fast as he used to be. I also wonder, because Uri was scratched right before the game, Peter said that he didn't want to make 2 moves and move Remy back to the D-mid spot and then have to put somebody else in at the 8. But I wonder now if maybe that would have been the right move to do and put the more experienced 6 in that spot.
Absolutely. They're professionals. You're telling me that Cam Duke, Felipe Hernandez, or even Roger aren't capable of playing the 8, which is what they play every day in practice, what they do every time they play in the game, and that you can't just slot Remy back to the 6, which is what he does at least 50% of the time? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm just going to add in that he did say that they had worked on something specific, and then making 2 moves would have messed that up, or not his words exactly, but would have changed that more so. I don't disagree with you. That's why when I hear that, I'm like, I understand the logic. I don't necessarily agree with the logic.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get Walter farther up the field, which I think showed Saturday night is a good thing. Because I think Remy's a little more disciplined than Roger is at that 8. He's not quite as helter-skelter about it. And Roger does some good stuff, but I think Remy's a little more forward-thinking in that 8 position as well than Roger is.
But you still would love to have a guy who plays the 6 in the 6 spot.
Oh, yeah.
So if Roger's not the answer up there, then maybe Cam and Felipe would have been the answer with Remy at the 6.
Could be.
Well, I don't think Remy plays the 6 the way that the system would prefer.
No.
Right? Ilie, peak Ilie is kind of the 6 that's built for our system. Like that, better than Yuri, better than Remy. Ilie, when he first came in, is exactly what our system wanted. But Roger sure as hell isn't it. And that's not meant to be a knock on Roger. I like Roger. Roger's a great 8. He's a terrific 8. Not as good as he was a few years ago, but he's a very good player as an 8. He is not a 6. And every time we've played him back there, he has not been good back there. Fine to fine-ish, to sometimes bad, but he's not a fit for the system there.
And I don't think Roger, as the 6, gave up or created any of the goals for Nashville, other than maybe creating the set pieces that then created the goals. I can't even I can't say that. I'd have to go back and trace plays backwards a little bit without having it off the top of my head. But I don't think he was a terrible thing at it. It's just not his spot. That's not his strength. And he's not going to add a lot in possession from the 6 where a Ilie or a Remy or a Yuri or a Busio or a Feilhaber or somebody who has that passing ability. Roger's not a terrible passer, but he's not a long distance, pick those passes out kind of guy.
Well, because everything flows from the 6. Our ability to defend comes from possessing the ball.
Yeah.
And, peak Yuri, before we transferred him to Portugal, was that metronome where he was he set passing records in a game by being able to just maintain possession, swing the ball around until we were able to find the pass. Ilie being able to hit the diagonal switches. Our offense can oftentimes from the 6. And so when we don't have somebody who can play the 6 to that level, the system tends to struggle. Ilie would often drop back in between the center backs so that when we push the fullbacks out and up, it allowed Ike and Bees to slide out to the side more, and then Ilie was playing almost as a sweeper center back. We don't have that right now. Even Yuri, we haven't gotten to see him fully fit for any of the games this year, but I don't think he's got that club in his bag right now.
He's the closest one, though.
I just have to say this. Getting Uri, I understand the reasoning, but the most games he's played in the last 5 years in the league is 22. I know some of that's due to manager decisions, but it's also due to his play and his injuries. Just the logic of, we'll pick him up and he'll be a solid starter for us all season just defies any logic in my mind.
Am I muted? Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
No, you're good.
I'm muted. There we go. Great. Sorry. No, I will disagree that Uri was brought in to be a starter. You talking about the Mari situation, or the starter that they hope to have is no longer around the team, because of what happened with effort and training camp and all that stuff. A delineating mess that culminated in that in that 15-minute cameo jaunt around the middle of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in that opening game. part of Uri's problem too is he even recognized this was that, and I asked him this at media day. Kind of appeared in an article briefly, but it wasn't really the sole focus of the article. Was him talking about how he found himself when he looked back on that first game, doing some things that you would do as a 6 in a double pivot that you can't do as a 6 in a central pivot, and how I think back even to Ilie, right? Like Ilie went through Barcelona Academy and all Barcelona B, all that stuff, right? La Masia goes through. He's been played in this prototypical 6. If you go back to some of his other stops in his career and where he was in Germany before he came to Sporting Kansas City, he was being used as an 8. That's why it wasn't working. Uri has been used as an 8, not as an 8, but as a double pivot, as a 6 in a double pivot. Uri in the last 2-3 systems that he's played has been solely as a dual pivot player, which requires a different level of aggression that doesn't fit into his game. It's why Sporting have never really tried the double pivot when Ilie was there. Maybe one-off games, and if you do remember that one-off game, it was the game against Houston in the U.S. Open Cup in 2018, which resulted in multiple players basically being banished because of effort and how poorly that whole thing worked. That doesn't work like that. So he's got to find. He has not had game time rhythm yet to even get back into being the normal single pivot 6 that is expected out of the system, which probably suits his player type significantly more than the demand that is on a double pivot number 6. And he even mentioned that he still has to get rid of some of those tendencies that he's tried to pick up over the last few years just to keep staying afloat. The injuries, sure, questionable, but he was healthy going into camp. He was healthy going in through all of this. So then the question mark is, he played a game on a crappy field, on a crappy turf in Atlanta, and messed up his hamstring, and then was getting ready to be back and picked up another knock, different leg, different thing, more of a contact type thing in his thigh that just ended up not ruling him out for that game against Nashville. So, it's so hard now because I think I'm at a point with the team and the results, and I think fans are like, I felt like I wanted to make fans chill out, like for the first 6-7 games over what was going on, because there were so many injuries and so many things going on. But now we're kind of at a point where where we can no longer be patient. Like, these are no longer valid excuses, and things just have to click. And unfortunately for Uri, they're going to need him to come in and really, whenever he's ready to go at that 6, that's their option right now, unless they go out of the league or within the league to bring someone in to go and play at that spot for them. That fixes is Uri at the moment. And so they are really going to rely on him getting fully up to speed as quick as possible. And that's a big question mark. And I think that's a really big key to how this team goes forward. But I'm not totally sure that Uri was the original plan A.
Right. Sure.
I don't know that, that this is kind of the plan A that they're stuck with now.
He said in there that things just need to click. And I think that unfortunately that is where we're at. Thad, we asked Daniel a second time, what's wrong with the team after he said, well, we've had the injuries and some absences. You reiterated again, well, it's just the injuries. So I don't know that there is a solution. That the third question that I wanted to talk about here is, can this team make the playoffs without another signing? And that's the question of if they can, when will things start clicking, or what does clicking mean exactly? So David, can this team make the playoffs without getting a new signing?
No.
Cool.
No. So here's the thing. At some point, hypothetically, Gadi Kinda will come back, which when he's been out the entire season will function kind of as a new signing, right? But how many fines is that? Is that 3?
Cody's having a rough night over here.
What do you keep dropping?
I took my phone out of the case and it's really slippery. When you take your phone out of the case and it's all slippery? Yeah,
Why'd you take your phone out of the case?
Thad, you need to go teach her on Cody.
Sometimes I just like to hold my phone in my hand. You know what I mean? I don't know.
All right, David, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
I'm not sure I remember what I was saying.
Got a kid coming back.
So
You gave the Peter Vermes line if it's just like a new
signing.
Well,
Yes, he did.
right,
Thank
right.
you.
So-
Thank you, Daniel.
So, but we talked about this last week, right? Is Gotti really what this team needs to turn things around? It'll be helpful.
It will be.
It'll be really helpful.
It's a piece.
But we had a long conversation about how valuable that game-breaking 10 is, and so when I'm looking at teams that have started seasons really poorly and then went on to make the playoffs and have any sort of run, the perfect example is 2016 Seattle Sounders. They had 20 points through 20 matches. And through July 24th, they had won a handful of games, and they were just taking L after L
I
after
remember
L.
this team.
Then they signed Nico Lodero in the summer window, and they go to MLS Cup. Gotti Kinda's good. I like Gotti a lot. He's not Nico Lodero.
No.
He's not Lucas Zelarayan. He's not Emmanuel Reynoso, although
Sporting also isn't a team that uses a
true 10. Right.
that well.
But, Seattle was kind of middling through a season, and then they picked up Raul Ruidiaz. Without getting a really elite player in, I'm not sure that this team is going to have enough going forward to do any damage. We've scored 5 goals through 7 games.
Just an update. I cracked my screen protector on that last one. Daniel, did you disagree that this team could make the playoffs?
Okay, so I think, and I respectfully disagree with David because I understand what he's saying, but you also pointed to all of those teams, and as Thad said, that they function with the number 10 entirely differently. I don't know that Peter is willing to sacrifice that. It's the system to make that happen if they were to go outside and make that change. But I think you're looking at a lot of those teams that they went on to win trophies and go to the MLS Cup final. But they were also at the end of the season, they shot their way up the table almost to first or second. We don't need to be a first or second. My light just dropped. Goodness gracious. This is a mess. We don't need, Sporting doesn't need to be first or second to make the playoffs. They got to be 7th. So I think with a healthy Gotti Kinda and with barring no more injuries, right, and the team kind of gets back into sync, something happens with the striker position, whether it's Shelton starts banging him in, or if it's going to be Vujnovic,
You said something hopeful there.
That's
Daniel.
so. There's. I'm not necessarily banging him in, but it is a much more functional option than he's been so far this year.
Yeah, that sounds great, but still, you said something has to happen there, and that's
right. But I would bank on that more than a signing than a Nico Lodero caliber. And like I said, I don't know that my expectation was that team could win MLS Cup this year. So I have kept that. If they had Allen, sure. If they had even gotten Kasper Shabilko, I think they probably could have been up there. Not Kasper Shabilko. Who's the one that Robert Beric? If they had been able to land Beric, I think that they could have been pushing up there a lot higher. But my top bar for where I think this team could have been this year is sitting very maybe in the postseason, maybe pushing for a home playoff spot, might be at the 5 or 6 spot, because there's just there's a lot that has to go wrong. I think compared to some of the other teams that are ahead of them, I just don't think when Sporting's flying, they're better than a lot of those teams that are ahead of them. And so I have question marks about how long it's going to take for them to get there, but I don't think it's entirely unrealistic for them. I mean, look at what Vancouver did last year too. They made the playoffs. They got their butts kicked in the first round against Sporting, but they made the playoffs, and they were virtually, they fired their head coach in July and were dead in the water. So to make the playoffs, I don't think they necessarily need another signing. They want to win a trophy this year. They're going to have to do something significant, either at the 6th position or at the striker position. I think those are the 2 very obvious places that they would do that, but I still don't know if that's going to happen, because that's never been something that Vermes has done. So is he desperate enough to go do something that he's never done, which is make a large acquisition in the middle of the season?
So I'm surprised that it's taken, and the way our discussion has gone, didn't we come out of that game a little bit thinking, hey, this is the best they've played in a while, and hey, what a difference John Neese and Vujnovic made coming in at the end, and Peter hinted at playing those guys more. Is that going to make a difference for this team? What do you guys think?
Yeah, Robert, I'm really glad you said that, because I came away thinking that this game wasn't that bad. I know, Daniel, you mentioned that second goal, and
frustrating as hell.
Yeah,
yes,
you can pick it apart and be like, oh, you got to get to the second ball, you got to do this and that. But that both of their goals to me looked like Stoke City scoring on Chelsea or Manchester City. It was kind of slop goals, offset pieces, the great equalizers, and Daniel came close more than once. Johnny almost had one.
If Daniel Shalhoub's shot is an inch further to the left, it's a goal and it's a 2-2 draw. And we're talking about how they salvaged the point. Yep. Pissed off maybe about them not getting all three. But you're talking about them salvaging a point and things like on the road to recovery. But because that didn't go in, now we're having the all hell is broken loose discussion.
Okay, so what do you think? Johnny's going to get more time? Is Voinovich going to get more time now, like Peter's hinted at?
Well, yeah, he said at the end of the game that he kind of indicated that changes were coming. So where are these changes? You have to think Jonas is one of them, right? But who does he replace?
That's the question. Who does Peter see as the ones that did not put out enough effort in that game?
I'm gonna just hopefully guess
not effort, but
Ndenbe over Sweat. That's the one I'm hoping is Ndenbe over Sweat is one of them.
Well, he came in at the end.
I could see that being a function too of just getting Ndenbe back in there too. I don't know that Sweat was a total scapegoat, but if we go back and look at those set pieces, there's a player who was did not follow their mark to the back post. That was just hanging out at the top of the six while everyone else followed in.
Daniel, you don't want to mention the name? Okay.
Well, we'll just say I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Vujnovic starting next week.
I was assuming Vojnovic had to be one of them.
I think so. The problem with Jonas is just like he has never really played in a 10 ever. Even at the club level, he's been like as a striker or a winger, and so you could conceivably move Daniel to striker and put Jonas in Daniel's spot if you wanted to, if that was the player that they were trying to get on. But I don't know if Peter's totally ready to change up where Daniel's playing on the regular either.
I'd rather see Jonas as the 9, and he could play a false 9 kind of role, but because he's got the speed, the dribbling, the turning, he's got all of that. He can
shoot.
Yeah, we've seen that he can shoot. Like the game for Cyprus and that he went when he was away on international duty, he got that goal was basically
against Estonia.
Was it Estonia?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The only concern I would have with Johnny's playing in the midfield is I'm not sure what kind of passer he is, because I think he's creative enough. And by passing, I'm talking about his ability to retain possession.
Possession passing.
Yeah. I think he can hit a good through ball or be creative. We know he can shoot. He's a very capable defender. He's a very willing defender. He's got pace. He's got the ability to cover large parts of the field and do it fast. I'm just not sure how he would fit in one of those dueling eights, playing that Gadi Kinda role of being able to retain possession and combine.
That's why I would rather see him at the 9 spot or a wing spot. But I would love to see him be tried at the false 9 for a while. Again, it's not hate on Kyrie, but if he's not in a good spot, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say blame him for any of the particular spots. I mean, everybody has mistakes, but he might be not in a good mental spot just because he knows that fans are expecting him to do stuff that he's not doing or can't do or has never been strong at. I don't know that I will still maintain that he doesn't have to score a lot of goals in order to be an effective 9 as long as the other people around him are being better. But when they're not being better, then he's not doing any of those particular jobs well.
And Vojnovic is better than 0 goals. Like, I bet he scores at least a goal for this team. So there are more goals out there. And if we talked about how we keep making excuses for why this team isn't doing that well. But if you actually line up all of those excuses, Vojnovic is brand new. What if he gets his legs under him? He could score some goals. There's that one. You bring back Gadi Kinda. There's that one. Uri comes back and plays decent. Daniel Shalhoub starts scoring more goals. Russell starts scoring more goals. I was complaining pretty hard about the team, but like Daniel said, all they have to get is 7th place. All you got to do is LA Galaxy your way in there, and the Galaxy can get 7th place every year and just make the playoffs. So I think we can LA Galaxy our way in.
With all of those little pieces, they're not really little, but with all those pieces, if they start to improve and start to gel and start to click, Peter could make a move in the summer window. It's not going to be the big splashy 10 kind of thing, but he could add another piece in there that would give him a little other look or a little depth or a second option or a third option at the 9 or something. He could add a piece in there. And at this point, you're only trying to integrate one guy, not 2 or 3 or 4 guys into this team. Because he's just, you don't have the cap and the DP spot to go out and get this big name guy to come in and just save the season.
Well,
Okay, I got 2 things.
okay.
All right. If he's going to do that, here's my request: a Kellen Acosta type player who has the athletic ability as well as the technical abilities. That may be reaching a little high. Second thing, I'm going to throw this out here just for discussion. And David, I'm sorry if it interrupts your point you're going to make, but how about Johnny Russell as the 8-10? Anybody like that idea?
As the what?
As the 8/10.
No.
Anybody like that idea?
No.
Just thought I'd throw it out.
I don't think I like
Cody
that.
sounds hurt when you said that. I mean, he sounded like he needed a safe spot.
Just want to throw out there for discussion purposes.
If Johnny's not haphazardly darting into the box from the corner, then I don't know what he's doing.
All righty.
Okay, that was good there. That was very good. Okay, we've got a full podcast here. Anything else we have missed so far? David,
No,
wanted to
David,
say
you didn't let
something?
David finish, man.
Yeah.
Robert interrupted. You didn't let him finish.
I'm sorry. I think, why don't we blame Rob? Why did I get blamed? Robert interrupted. Don't blame me. David, go ahead.
Well, all I was going to say is, so I guess to cap off the conversation about can we make the playoffs, you asked, can we make the playoffs? And that was not the question I answered. The question I answered was, can we actually do anything in the playoffs without making a signing? Can we make the playoffs as a 7 seed? Sure. Absolutely. And I think Daniel made a great point. Given the vitriol towards the club by the fan base, how upset the fan base has been that we haven't won MLS Cup since 2013. A lot of our fans don't seem to care that we win the Open Cup every few years. That was kind of the question I was answering. Can we win a trophy without making a signing? I'm not sure we can. What that goes to my other point that Robert was mentioning, we don't have the cap space for a DP, or maybe that was Thad. Sorry. We're sitting here in the dark, and that's going to be my excuse for why I couldn't tell you two apart. But
Looks so much alike.
we're in the dark. Here's my hot take. Cody's always pushing for us to hot take this, so this is my gas bag of the week.
Here we go.
Cut Polito.
Whoa.
When we get to the window where we can cut bait on Polito, cut Polito, send a new DP. Because Polito's been hurt enough that, we're not getting our full value out of him. We're not going to sell him for anything close to what we paid for him. So it's not like we're turning and burning and making money like we do. We're not flipping him like Busio. When the window opens where we can cut a player with no cap hit, cut Polito, send a new DP. That's my hot take.
Sperry, do we cut him?
No.
You just added 15 minutes to the pod by asking that.
No, that's all. He gets a one-word answer. Thad, what did you have on that?
I was going to say that may be one reason he was not added to the season-ending injury list. There's different rules when you apply those different things, and I don't know them, so this is like speculation.
Accurate partial information.
Don't do that. I don't like that. Because when we have accurate information, we give accurate information. When I say I don't know exactly what the rules are, I say that. So it's accurate in the fact that I say that.
Yeah, and it's partial. It's exact. I think it fits perfect.
So anyway, I don't know what that rule is. I don't know the exact rules around that. But if you put them on a season-ending injury list, I've seen in other leagues that means you can't cut a guy. They're protected at that point, so they're there for the entire season. That may be why he wasn't put on there. But the other factor is, just saw a video of him exercising his ass off the other day.
Ooh. Oh. His ass off in particular. He wasn't just exercising.
That guy was an exercise monster before the injury, And that may be the one thing that would be able to get him back before the actual end of the season, is the fact that he was in such amazing shape. And if he was doing the stuff that I saw him doing the other day, he's probably still 4 months away, easy. But I could be wrong.
Okay, so back to what was mentioned earlier. Okay, say we do go on our U.S. Open Cup run and we win the Open Cup. I asked this to my neighbor and season ticket member right before the game. If that happens, does that make it a good season? Is that acceptable to you? And he said right away, no. What are your guys' thoughts?
Give me a trophy. I like the U.S. Open Cup.
The average fan still doesn't know what the Open Cup really means. So the average fan will look at it as it's just a minor little thing.
The average fan is stupid.
Now you
Be
sound
that as
like
it
me,
may.
Cody.
Now we go back to the beginning of the pod when we were talking about something else.
I'd be thrilled with an Open Cup. MLS Cup is my second trophy. I want the Supporter Shield. It's a long season. I would rather watch a season where we dominate all year long. It's enjoyable rather than relying on some sort of crapshoot. Portland was the Western Conference representative last year. Would any of you have wanted to suffer through Portland's season last year, but for the playoffs? You know, or like Salt Lake came within, you know, a whisker of making it to MLS Cup. They were terrible.
A handball came.
They
within
were
a handball.
terrible.
Right.
So, like, for me, it's Shield, MLS Cup, Open Cup, but give me a trophy.
What's that other one that we're going to be in this year? Campiones or
Leagues Cup.
The
Leagues Cup?
Yeah.
Come on, Thad.
Copa Cash Grab is what I like to call it.
Yeah. How much do you think that's going to look like an SKC2 team?
They should just put it on their schedule. But yeah, don't cut Polito. Don't cut Polito. I do think too the club would view a U.S. Open Cup as successful for this team. Playoffs and an Open Cup, that's a success given the fact that the injury issues that they've had, how difficult it's been to get anybody integrated into the actual team lately, and just with the immigration stuff preseason, and then take, you know, the most expensive signing in club history and shelve him for the entire year. That a trophy in playoffs is still pretty darn good.
All right. Daniel, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet
By
you.
the way, that's David down there.
gracious.
It's kind of like a mirror, man. I'm seeing, like, you know, the dark hair, the
I
beard.
thought so too.
Yeah, it's dark.
All right.
Yes, and I will see you at practice tomorrow.
Thad and I are we're going to be back for our Tuesday training talks. Ooh, did I just come up with a good name for that segment?
Tuesday training talks.
Thad didn't like it.
cute.
No,
Anyway,
but
we'll be
I
back.
I wouldn't put the Tuesday because that's always
Who do you
Training
guys
talks.
got?
Training
train
talks.
talk. Yeah.
We're going to
Who do
be
you guys
talking
got?
with Roger Espinoza.
Oh, that's a fun one.
That's a fun one, right? We tried to get Johnny. I shot my shot to get Johnny. They said no.
So you shot your shot with Kyrie Shelton, who blasted the refs on Instagram the game prior, and then shot your shot with Johnny after there's a widely publicized video of him yelling at a fan.
Shooters
All
got to
right.
shoot. One day Patrick's going to give it to me.
Wayne Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
Boom.
Don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.